Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to plunge into, well, just some fascinating stories and pull out insights that really make you stop and think. And today, we're going on quite an extraordinary exploration. It's about life, death, destiny. And it comes from a really unique source, the personal reflections, the spiritual interpretations of one woman's life. It's quite something. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. So, the core narrative is about a 74-year-old woman, originally from Thailand. She shares her journey, her family struggles, and this really mysterious string of tragedies involving three of her children, all linked, strangely, by what's described as a virus.
Yeah, and our mission here really is to look at her story and try to understand these profound connections, between actions, intentions, and what happens next. Not just in this life, but through this lens of karma, potentially spanning lifetimes. What's fascinating is how events that seem totally separate, how they might actually be woven together by these deeper threads, cause and effect, maybe?
Exactly. And you'll want to stick with us because this isn't just recounting sad events. It's more of an investigation into the why. Why does profound suffering happen? What's the role of past actions, maybe actions we don't even remember? And also the power of compassion, of making merit. We're following a mother's journey through love, incredible loss, and her search for understanding. So let's dive right in. Okay, so our journey starts with the mother's background. Born and raised in Thailand, she got married, had six children, two sons, four daughters. But her marriage, it wasn't easy. Her husband took a new woman, but then refused to give her a divorce. A really tough situation. Despite all that, she made this really courageous decision to move to England, to seek a new life for herself. She lived abroad for 13 years, and finally, after 8 years in the UK, she managed to get that divorce. And she's actually been in a relationship with an Englishman since she was 29. So she's built this whole life in England, working hard as a housekeeper, a cook, and sending money back home to her kids in Thailand. Now, once she got settled in England, she brought three of her daughters over to live with her. Over time, two moved out, so she ended up living mainly with her daughter, Lek. And Lek, she had an intellectual disability. She could understand things, apparently, but couldn't really communicate fully, use gestures, sounds. And on top of that, Lek had numerous physical health problems. The source specifically mentions this recurring virus in the lungs. She needed fluid removed from her lungs regularly, which, left her quite weak. It sounds incredibly challenging.
It really does.
Yeah.
And this raises a key point, I think. This profound devotion the mother had for Lek, especially with all these challenges, physical and mental. It feels like more than just typical maternal care, doesn't it? It suggests maybe a deeper connection, perhaps something karmic binding them. Makes you wonder.
It absolutely does. And Lek's character, despite everything, sounds remarkable. Always good-tempered, never angry. She was eager to help her mother, especially preparing food for the monks at a meditation center they went to in the UK. And here's something that really struck me. Lek used her government disability benefits about 116 pounds a week, which is nearly 10,000 Thai baht for good deeds. She sponsored something called a Dharma body image, made merit constantly at these centers, and even encouraged visitors to their home to donate.
That's quite something. Using her own support funds for merit.
You mentioned Dharma body image and making merit. Could you quickly explain those just for anyone less familiar?
Sure. A Dharma body image is basically sponsoring the creation or repair of, say, a Buddha statue or some other sacred image. It's seen as a very positive act, generating good karma, because it helps preserve the teachings and gives people a focus for devotion. And making merit, well, that's doing wholesome things, giving charity, offering food to monks, meditating, praying, all with the intention of creating positive karma. The idea is it brings good results, either now or in future lives. So Lake's clearly very focused on this.
That makes her actions even more touching. And she was caring too, apparently. When her mother was sick, Lek would bring her medicine. But then, tragically, in late September 2001, Lek caught a cold. It got bad fast, severe cough, couldn't breathe properly. She ended up in the hospital and died on October 7th, 2001, respiratory failure. And after she passed, her mother used all the donations Lek had saved up for more merit making in her name, continuing that generosity. But just as the family was dealing with Lek's death, this chilling pattern started. Within a year, the mother got news from Thailand. Devastating news. Her two sons back home had also died, so that's three children lost, one after the other. And the chilling part, all supposedly from illnesses described as virus-related.
Yeah, that's where it gets really uncanny. Three children, similar cause of death cited. In such quick succession, it would make anyone search for a deeper reason.
Definitely. So let's look at the sons. First, Twing, the youngest. Like Lake, he'd done some good deeds, sponsored a Dharma body image, sometimes offered alms, so some merit there. But his life also had some difficult aspects. He smoked, he drank, and importantly, he had a secret affair with a nurse while he was married. This affair went horribly wrong. The nurse actually harmed his pregnant wife. She miscarried and couldn't have children after that.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Twang and the nurse split up. His wife, wanting a child, adopted an orphan, but then tragically she died just a year later. So Twang raised the adopted child alone until the child was about 10, and then he himself died, age 41. The cause given, a virus in the brain. And then there's Tom, the oldest son. His path was different initially. He was actually ordained as a monk for 6 years.
6 years is a significant amount of time in robes, a lot of accumulated merit, potentially.
Right. But he later disrobed, went back to lay life. And after leaving the monastery, he started smoking and drinking again, though apparently he cut back a bit after getting married. But about 2 years before he died, his health really started failing. He looked much older than he was, and then he died at 43. Again, the description was a virus, this time in the lungs.
So if we step back and look at the bigger picture, you see this recurring theme, this virus is the label for all three. But you also see these difficult life choices, these complex situations, consequences playing out, all hitting this one mother. It really pushes you to look beyond just the medical terms, doesn't it? To ask, from this karmic perspective, what's really going on? The pattern seems too strong for coincidence.
Exactly. And that's precisely what the mother wanted to understand. These losses, one after another, she needed more than just medical reasons. She was searching for that deeper spiritual why. Why Lek's condition? Why these sudden deaths? What connected them all? And this is where the spiritual interpretation, the karmic view, offers its explanation.
Right. And it's quite specific. Let's start with Lek. According to this source, the karmic explanation goes back to a past life. In that life, Lek was actually the mother's son in a farming family. And in that lifetime, he was apparently a very heavy drinker and also a severe womanizer.
Okay. So how does that connect to this life?
Well, the interpretation is that the consequences manifested directly. The womanizing in that past life led to being reborn as female in this life, and the heavy drinking back then. That resulted in the intellectual disability Lek experienced.
Wow, that's a very direct link. Drinking leading to intellectual disability, womanizing to rebirth as female. But what about the mother's role? You mentioned she encouraged him to drink at home in that past life out of concern, right? How did that create this bond? It seems almost unfair if her intention was good.
That's a really crucial point, and it shows the subtlety, the complexity of how karma is viewed here. In that past life, the mother loved her son Lek, in his male form then, very much. She worried about him drinking outside. So her solution, born out of concern, was, okay, drink at home with your friends. I'll even make snacks. She wanted him safe, nearby. But by doing that, even with good intentions, she was seen as facilitating or supporting his harmful habit, the heavy drinking. It wasn't a malicious act, far from it, but it still created this specific karmic connection, this tie. The consequence was that she was bound to care for a child with an intellectual disability stemming from that past drinking habit. It really highlights how intentions matter, but the nature of the action and its impact also carry significant karmic weight. It's less about blame, more about understanding these incredibly precise, sometimes unexpected cause and effect ripples across lifetimes. Even love can create these complex bonds.
That is incredibly insightful. It really makes you think about actions and consequences differently. Okay, so that's Lek and the mother's specific connection. What about the shared fate of all three children, Lek, Twing, and Tom?
Their connection, the reason they shared this specific tragic fate, also goes back to a past life. A different one, or perhaps the same one. It's not totally clear, but one where they were together. In that existence, all three, Lek as male then, Twang and Tom were brothers and sons to the same mother again. As teenagers, they were described as naughty. They liked doing scientific experiments with animals.
Oh, what kind of experiments?
Well, they threw ducklings into a basket in the water to see if they'd swim. They did. They threw dogs into water to see if they could swim. They managed too. But then they decided to test a kitten.
Oh, no.
Yeah. All three worked together, caught a kitten, and threw it into a canal. The kitten struggled, couldn't swim, and it drowned. It died right there.
Ah, that's awful.
It is. And according to this interpretation, that specific act of cruelty causing the kitten to struggle for breath and die in the water, that was the direct karmic cause. It resulted in all three of them dying from conditions affecting their breathing or brain, described as virus in the lungs or virus in the brain in this life. And significantly, dying in quick succession. The suffering they inflicted, especially that struggle for life and breath, mirrored their own cause of death.
That's incredibly specific. A direct karmic retribution for that one act, affecting all three of them. So beyond that shared karma from the kitten incident, what about their individual situations after death? Tuang and Tom had different lives, different levels of merit. And could the mother's merit making after their deaths actually help them? Where did they end up?
Yes, the source addresses that too, looking at their afterlife destinations and the effect of the merit. It shows how individual karma still plays out, even alongside shared karma. Let's start with Lek. Despite her struggles before death, she apparently sensed a visiting monk and remembered all her good deeds. This brought her joy right at the end. As a result, she was reborn as a female Canary. That's a type of celestial musician.
A canary, in what kind of realm?
In the Katumaharjika heaven, it's one of the lower, but still very pleasant, heavenly realms. Think beautiful beings, music, happiness.
Okay, so a positive rebirth for Lick.
Very positive, yes. Reflecting her merit and pure heart. And importantly, she received the merit her mother sent, and it benefited her the most, improving her state there. She was apparently quite excited about her new celestial life. Now Tom, the oldest son, his situation was different. After 7 days, he went to a place called Yamaloka. His past merit, especially from those 6 years as a monk, was crucial. It saved him from falling into the fifth major hell realm, which is described as a place of intense suffering.
Saved by his monkhood merit. Okay. But he still ended up in Yamaloka. What is Yamaloka exactly? And what happened to him there?
Yamaloka is often described as an intermediate realm, sort of a place of judgment or karmic processing. Not heaven, not the Buddhist hells, but a realm where consequences are faced before the next rebirth. Because of his later actions, the drinking, the smoking after he disrobed his karma, led him to become an official there. A kumfen, which is like a guardian or functionary.
A guardian in this intermediate realm, so kind of like a job based on his karma?
Sort of, yes. Often depicted as having a rather grim, duty-bound role, dealing with other beings facing their own karmic results. So his monastic merit protected him from the worst. But his later actions still resulted in this less than desirable, duty-bound existence. He did receive the merit his mother sent, which helped, but he still had to fulfill this karmic role. It shows merit helps, but doesn't always raise consequences entirely.
Right. And Tueng, the youngest son with the affair and the tragic events surrounding his wife.
Twing's situation was different again. He became what's called a Sampavesi, essentially an earthbound spirit.
Earthbound. So like a ghost, waiting.
Pretty much, yes. A spirit that hasn't moved on to a heaven or a hell or Yamaloka, but is sort of stuck, wandering the earth plane, often in a state of limbo or mild suffering, waiting for the conditions for rebirth. For him, the mother's merit offerings were absolutely vital. They actually prevented him from going to Yamaloka. So instead of facing that more intense processing, he was able to remain as a Sampavesi, awaiting rebirth with others who have similar karmic connections. It's still not ideal, but considered less severe than Yamaloka in his case. And the key point for all three is that they did receive the merit their mother sent, and they all still need more merit to improve their situations further. It really underlines that enduring connection, doesn't it? How a mother's love and actions through merit-making can reach her children even after death, potentially easing their path.
Wow. So wrapping this up, what do we take away from this deep dive? It's such a complex, tragic, yet somehow illuminating story. We see this intricate web past actions, maybe forgotten ones, having these profound consequences in the present. And alongside the suffering, there's this enduring power of compassion, of intention, and these acts of merit. It really shows how interconnected things might be across time, across lives.
Exactly. The story of this family through this specific karmic lens, it powerfully illustrates how our choices really do seem to shape our destiny, our connections. Even choices made lifetimes ago, or choices made with good intentions that had unexpected side effects, like the mother supporting the drinking at home. Understanding karma, in this view, offers a framework, a way to try and make sense of events that might otherwise seem random or inexplicable. It emphasizes the weight of every action, every intention.
It definitely gives you a lot to think about. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Consider the ripple effect of your own actions, even the small ones. How might they be connecting you to others now or in the future, in ways you maybe haven't considered? What small act of kindness or perhaps even support that needs careful thought could create an unforeseen connection, a ripple effect in your life, or maybe even beyond? Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into karma, connection, and the search for meaning in the face of loss.